Iowa State got off to a great start in yet another key Big 12 game, but Justice Hill and the Oklahoma State offense roared back with 21 straight points. But a late touchdown push by Iowa State sends this pivotal Big 12 game to halftime knotted at 2,121. Allen Lazard did not waste much time having an impact on the game. 5 minutes into the game, Lazard got his hands on a 14-yard touchdown pass to put the Cyclones on the board. After Iowa State's defense forced a 3-and-out on Oklahoma State's first offensive series of the game, the Cyclone offense went back to work with another methodical drive, traveling 64 yards on 8 plays for another touchdown to go up 140. David Montgomery capped the drive with a 22-yard touchdown run. Perhaps going down 140 was the wake-up call Oklahoma State needed. On the ensuing possession, the Cowboys got on the board with a 21-yard pass from Mason Rudolph to Marcel Aitman. After forcing a 3-and-out and taking over at the Iowa State 32-yard line, Hill scored a 9-yard touchdown to tie the game at 14-14 early in the second quarter. Another 3-and-out by the Cyclones led to another touchdown drive by Oklahoma State, with Hill once again capping the drive with a run to the end zone. Iowa State tied things up in the final minute of the first half when Joel Lanning, the 6 feet 2 inches 230-pound quarterback, stepped in at quarterback for Q's short yardage push at the goal line. It worked as Lanning and the Cyclones muscled forward for the touchdown on the ground. A win by Iowa State will keep the Cyclones in the running to make the Big 12 championship game, thanks in large part to head-to-head tiebreaker with both Oklahoma and TCU. If they can get one more this afternoon against Oklahoma State, that would be huge. Oklahoma State also needs this win to stay in the Big 12 title hunt as well. Stay tuned for a wild second half. Follow at Kevin Onk FBA. College football Saturday can be a very long day. You get up early, eat some breakfast with the sun peeking through and, depending on your time zone, won't go to bed until it gets dark in Hawaii. But let me tell you, no matter how long the day can drag on, watching Arizona quarterback Khalil Tate should be on your list of things to absolutely tune in for every single week. I mean it, every single week. The Heisman contender had another stellar outing on Pac-12 After Dark this week, which should come as no surprise given that the Wildcats were playing a pretty bad Oregon State team at home. They won 4,928 and set a new school record for rushing yards in the process. The opponent doesn't really matter though, because Tate is just so fun to watch and might be the closest thing we have to a human cheat code in the real-life version of NCAA football. Just watch this 71-yard touchdown run he had and pay attention to that extra gear the final 30 yards or so he uses to simply blow past some defenders that had an angle on him. According to the school, that was Tate's 5th rush of 70 or more yards on the season and his 11th rushing touchdown on the year, which ties him for 8th all-time trunk candidate in single-season school history. Keep in mind, he's only been the starter, at quarterback, for 6 games. All told, he finished the game against the Beavers with 206 yards on the ground and 2 scores in just 3 quarters worth of work, while also throwing for 68 yards on 5 of 7 passing. That puts him at 1,087 yards for the season, on just 95 carries for what would be an FBS record 11.4 yards carry if he keeps things up. We were all pretty impressed with the video game numbers that Louisville's Lamar Jackson has been putting up, but Tate has been just as good if not more so after taking over as the starter for Rich Rodriguez. There are still 2 games left in the regular season for the Wildcats against Oregon and in-state rival Arizona State, which gives us 2 more opportunities to see if anybody can stop the most dynamic player in the country right now. Oklahoma did not drop 60 points on TCU's top 10 defense Saturday night, but its defense didn't surrender anywhere near 50 either, and the 5th-ranked Sooners took another step closer to a 3rd straight Big 12 championship with a 3,820 win over number 6 TCU Saturday night in Norman. The combination of Baker Mayfield and running back Rodney Anderson was simply too much for TCU. Anderson posted a career-high 4 touchdowns, all in the first half. His 15-yard run at the 841 mark of the first quarter gave Oklahoma a 107 advantage, a lead the Sooners would not relinquish. After Mayfield hit Grant Calcaterra for a 13-yard strike to put OU up 177 at the close of the first quarter, Anderson effectively put the game out of reach with a 24-yard rush at the 11:45 mark of the second quarter. TCU pulled within 2,414 on a 1-yard Kenny Hill rush on the next possession, but Oklahoma immediately answered with a 14-yard pass to Anderson with 529 left before halftime. The pair hooked up again with just 7 seconds left before halftime for a 33-yard touchdown, giving Oklahoma 38 first-half points for the second consecutive game. The Sooners did not score in the second half but still were not seriously threatened thanks to a defense that significantly improved from its 661-yard, 52-point effort in Stillwater a week ago. Oklahoma limited Hill to 13 completions on 28 attempts and just 155 rushing yards on 32 carries. The Frogs scored only once in the second half, and did not mount a serious comeback threat despite Oklahoma's offense taking its foot off the gas. Mayfield continued his runaway Heisman Trophy lead by completing 18 of 27 passes for 333 yards and 3 touchdowns with no interceptions, and Anderson posted a career night of 23 carries for 151 yards and 2 touchdowns plus a game-high 5 grabs for 139 yards and 2 touchdowns. Thanks to losses by number 1 Georgia and number 3 Notre Dame, and number 13 Ohio State's dominant win over number 12 Michigan State doesn't hurt either, Oklahoma should move comfortably inside the CFP top 4 on Tuesday night. But in the immediate term, Oklahoma moved a step closer to reaching the revived Big 12 championship against TCU. Number 15 Oklahoma State's defeat of number 21 Iowa State cleared a path for TCU to earn a rematch against the Sooners, provided the Frogs defeat Texas Tech and Baylor to close the season. Oklahoma closes the regular season with a visit to Kansas and a home game against West Virginia, needing only one victory to reach the Big 12 title game. But, of course, Oklahoma has much bigger goals on its mind than simply playing for another conference championship. More defensive performances like this one will help the Sooners get there. Heading into Saturday's showdown with number 3 Notre Dame, there were still plenty of questions about whether number 7 Miami was a bona fide college football playoff contender. By the time the night was over, it's safe to say there were no more doubts. The Hurricanes brought back plenty of memories of those title contenders from yesteryear, and created several more over 4 quarters, after a nostalgia-filled rout of the Irish at Hard Rock Stadium, delivering a 418 Biscayne beatdown that will reverberate well beyond South Florida and could allow the team to move into the top 2 of the polls by next week. As much as the night was about the offense looking sharp, it was the swarming Miami defense that ruled supreme with their best effort of the year coming in the biggest game of the season. The team racked up 5 sacks and 9 tackles for loss, combining with 4 turnover chain appearances to utterly shut down the previously prolific Notre Dame attack. That helped lead to 24 points the other way, 7 of which came off Trajan Bandy's first career interception that he returned 65 yards for an eardrum-shattering pick-six. That was off the arm of backup quarterback Ian Book, who entered briefly in the second quarter to replace an ineffective Brandon Wimbish. 119 yards passing, 1 touchdown, 2 INTs. Star tailback Josh Adams spent most of the second half on the exercise bike after appearing to suffer an undisclosed injury and recorded only 40 yards on the ground as the Irish put up points with only seconds left in the third quarter to avoid a shutout. Though things slowed down after halftime, it was another efficient effort on the other side for head coach Mark Richt's offense to build upon what they've been doing the past few weeks. Quarterback Malik Rozier was solid throwing the football even if the stats weren't eye-popping. 137 yards, 1 TD, and also managed a rushing score that broke things open early on. He teamed up with Travis Homer 146 yards and DJ Dallas 53 yards, 2 scores to form quite the deadly combo in the backfield. The end result of all that carnage in South Florida, given number 1 Georgia's loss to number 10 Auburn earlier in the day, it's possible that Richt's current team could pass his old one in the standings on both Sunday app coaches polls and Tuesday selection committee. They've already clinched their first ever ACC Coastal Division title and will play Clemson for the conference title in what sure seems like a quarterfinal game up in Charlotte in a few weeks. As for Brian Kelly's side, their second loss of the year should end any hopes of reaching the playoff after that kind of lopsided result. The Irish still figure to be in a New Year's Six bowl if they win out and could remain in the top 10, but it's pretty clear that any hopes of aiming higher need to be reset after that kind of game against a potential playoff team in Miami. For the sake of the coach and the fan base, the trigger has to be pulled tomorrow, right, for the better part of the 2017 season. Hell, even heading into it, it's been a foregone conclusion that it's a matter of when, not if. Butch Jones is fired as Tennessee's head football coach in Week 11. That drumbeat of an argument got even louder and more resounding as Ute went into Columbia and headed back to Knoxville on the receiving end of a 5017 woodshedding by Missouri. With the loss, the Volunteers are now 0-6 sec play. Since the SEC was formed in 1933 until 2010, the Vols had never been 0-6 in the conference. From 2011 until now, they've been 0-6 in SEC play 3 times, twice under Derek Dooley 2011, 2012 and this year under Jones. Dooley was fired with 1 game left in the 2012 season after going 15-21 in nearly 3 seasons, with 2 games left in Jones' 5th season. The Vols are 3,426 under the beleaguered coach's stewardship. While the cupboard may have been bare when he arrived, the lack of success can't be blamed on the paucity of on-paper talent. Reminder: the Vols have signed 4 consecutive top 18 recruiting classes. 2 of them top 10 classes. Wes Rucker at Wes Rucker 247 November 12, 2017. It's gotten beyond obvious that there's no way Jones can survive this season. Why not cut ties now and begin the process of resurrecting the storied program? Full disclosure that needs to be made: the Vols are 5,754 and on their 3rd head coach since Phil Fulmer was fired in 2008. Just saying is all.